Today's workshop is titled EndNote for Researchers. If you've never heard of or used EndNote before, this is the perfect workshop for you. This is going to be completely introductory. We're going to talk about what EndNote is and how it can support your research. So today's learning objectives is we're going to define EndNote and understand how it fits into your research. We're going to understand how to add citations from databases, create references, and organize your libraries. Utilize Cite While You Write in a Word or a Pages document, and find where to download EndNote for your desktop from UT Software Options. So we're going to move with a scenario through this workshop today. You're on a research team and you've been tasked with building a literature review on the use of transcranial magnetic stimulation for treating clinical depression. You need to go into multiple databases to find a variety of clinical trials and evidence synthesis. Once you've found these studies, you also need to find PDFs of the full text. Once you've found all your articles, you need to write your literature review and use AMA citation style for your in-text citations as well as your bibliography. Where would you begin? So maybe in a past life as a researcher, you went through, found references one at a time, kept PDFs in separate folders, and started annotating them one at a time. But what we would suggest is to instead incorporate EndNote 20 into your process. EndNote is a citation management software, and it lets you collect, organize, and share your citations for your research or your assignments. First things first, the research guide is going to be really helpful for you if this is your first time using EndNote. If you go to uthsc.edu/library, you're going to find that EndNote button at the bottom right underneath the skeleton, and it's going to be extremely helpful. I used the research guide to build this workshop. I use it whenever I'm troubleshooting EndNote with any researchers. This is going to be the place that's going to answer the most of your questions. So as far as just starting at the beginning, you need some citations, you need some literature. Almost any database that you use is going to have some sort of exporting option that is in a file format that EndNote will read. So this is just a very small sample of some of the most popular databases on campus, and all of them are able to be used alongside EndNote. So there is some sort of button within each of these tools that will get references from that database offline into your EndNote desktop. Now, I'm going to show just a few screenshots of some of the most popular ones. And then when I get to the end of this slide presentation, I'm going to demo doing that just through PubMed for the end as well. So first things first with PubMed. The one thing to know with PubMed that's just a little bit different is typically on most databases, there's going to be a button that says export. And that's how you're going to find the file format that's going to work with EndNote. With PubMed, they actually use a button that says send to, as you can see in the screenshot, just instead of export. I like to call attention to that just because it is one very significant difference from other databases. But you can see I've run my search for transcranial magnetic stimulation, which I'll probably just call TMS for the remainder of the workshop, and depression. I've also applied filters where I just wanted some really high-level evidence studies that were both original investigation and some evidence synthesis. So I've got my 935 results there, and I'm going to hit the Send To button. You can see in the second screenshot what's going to come up after I hit that, where I can create a file for external citation management software, which is what EndNote's going to be. I would hit all results, or whether I wanted a range of those results, whatever my selection is. Once I've done that, I'll hit Create File. And then this process is going to be the same pretty much across all of the databases. The file is going to begin to download in your browser. And whenever it's ready to open, this could be almost immediately if it's just a couple of references. If it's 935 like this, it might take a few seconds. But either way, whenever the reference is or the download is ready to be opened, you double click it and it's going to automatically open up in your EndNote library once you've gotten EndNote installed and up and working. Now, clinical trials, I like to show this one because it's just a little bit different. You kind of have to work it a little bit to get it into EndNote in a way that makes sense. So I've done my TMS and depression search. You can see I got 366 studies specifically from ClinicalTrials.gov. There is a download button, as you can see on that screenshot on the left. Once I hit that, screenshot on the right pops up, and we're going to want all 366 studies, and we're going to want it in a plain text format, as you can see at the bottom. Now, after you've downloaded that file, the important thing to do is to take a second step where you have imported a clinical trials import option. That might sound like a lot of words, but really all it is you need to make sure that whenever you're getting ready to import, you can see in that middle screenshot where it says choose an import filter, there is a lot of different ways that references can be imported into EndNote, tons of them. But clinical trials sometimes isn't automatically an option in EndNote. So all you need to do is just Google EndNote 20 clinical trials import. You'll see the screenshot on the right. You'll go right to EndNote's website to download that clinical trials filter. You can see the download filter button at the bottom of that screenshot on the right. So you just have to have that within your EndNote library. Once you've done that, if you go back over to the screenshot on the far left, you're going to import a file through the clinical trials filter, and that file is going to be the references that you just got out of clinical trials. So I know that that's a lot. That sounds like a lot of extra steps. That's why this is recorded. You can continue to go back and hear this a few more times. I think it's helpful to kind of walk through the process there. You can also always reach out to me in the library and we can walk through it together. That's the main thing I want people to get out of the EndNote workshop is if you run into any issues and the research guide isn't helping you, always email me. My contact information will be at the end as well. And lastly, or next to last, I think we're gonna talk about Google Scholar as well in a minute, but Embase is one that we need to discuss. Now, whenever you do Embase, it's very straightforward. This is also, I did a TMS and depression search and I got over 6,000 results in this one. If we're going to do all of those records, you can see that I have highlighted that export button on the screenshot on the left. Like I said, it's often just export on a typical database. So places like Scopus, Ovid, typically CINAHL, there is an export just button. The screenshot on the right will pop up. You can see that it's suggesting which format we need it to be in. It's going to be that format that specifically mentions EndNote, and you're going to hit export. So that one's a pretty straightforward one. And then lastly, Google Scholar. And the main reason I like to mention this one is there is, like clinical trials, an extra step involved. So with Google Scholar, by default, when in Google Scholar, it's not going to show any citation import links. So you can see in the middle screenshot at the bottom where it says Bibliography Manager, it originally was on don't show any citation import links. I changed it to show links to import citations into, and I selected EndNote, as you can see in the middle. You do this just through the settings on your profile. So you can see in the screenshot on the left, I did settings, I got the one in the middle. And then the one on the right is what you will see after you've made that change. You'll have an import into EndNote under each individual reference that you see. So it's just important to clear that step first before you start doing any research with Google Scholar when you're wanting to use EndNote. And then last, one thing I like to mention is you can manually create references. So all you'll have to do is hit new reference within your library, and the screenshot on the right will pop up. Now you can see where it says reference type, journal article at the very top. There is a ton of different reference types you can put in here. So typically you would use this if you are trying to cite just a single chapter in a book. Maybe you're citing a web page from the CDC, maybe an online government white paper, something that doesn't have a very straightforward, easy to export reference option. You can always make it from scratch. Now, finding full text. So you've gotten all of the references, but now obviously you need to find the PDFs of those references. You can't, cite a paper without actually knowing everything that's in the paper. So for example, if you look at the references that I've highlighted in this screenshot, all I did was right click on them and hit find full text in the middle. The find full text is going to work with UTHSC Libraries holdings. So it's going to start searching through them and attaching PDFs where it's able to find that we have immediate access to them. Now, it might not find all of them. We obviously don't index every journal in the world. So it's helpful to be able to know where to go back into your browser to look for more full text. So if, for example, you go through this find full text option in EndNote and one of your references that you really want the PDF of doesn't come up automatically, you can always go back into PubMed and see if you can find the full text link there. Maybe the EndNote function just didn't work right. You can also always, if we don't have access, fill out an interlibrary loan. And what that's going to do is give us a way to go to a different library, get that reference or that full text for you for free, and send it to you via email. So we can always get you the PDF you're looking for one way or another. Now, organization. So with organization of your EndNote library, there's several different ways that you can go about it. With group, all you have to do is really just create a group. You can see in the screenshot on the left, you could create a group, a smart group, a group set. A group is going to be manually adding them by dragging and dropping. So say you make a group for a specific rotation that you're on, or a specific rotation that you are precepting, depending on what kind of work you're doing. You can drag and drop references into that group. Now, a smart group defines pre-existing search terms so that references will automatically be added whenever they're added to the EndNote library. So one easy example of this is if I wanted to keep an EndNote library just of my publications to make it easier for me to find them, I could make a smart group and have it defined that anytime the author with the last name Jasmine goes in, it automatically moves them to that group. There's a lot of different ways you can do it based on words in the title, author names, things like that, but that's a way to just easily sort. And then a group set just serves as a header. So a group set can have groups and smart groups living underneath it. Now, citation styles. So of course, there are a lot of these. It can be overwhelming to think about how many different citation styles you might be able to use. One thing I like to mention is that AMA is not a default style within EndNote 20. So APA, Vancouver, plenty of the citation styles that you're used to or have heard of are in there, but EndNote is not, or I'm sorry, AMA is not. And that's important to know since a lot of folks are going to be using it. To add AMA or any other style that you need to, all you have to do in the screenshot on the left, you can see where I've hit select another style. And then the screenshot on the right will pop up. You'll find JAMA. It'll be the very last of the J's. And once you've added it, you don't have to add it again. And if you ever have another reference citation style that you don't see within EndNote, you can always do this as well through choosing a new style or importing a new style from online. Okay, so this is often the most exciting part for a lot of people, and that's Cite While You Write. Cite While You Write enables you to customize your manuscript to the desired style or format required by your publisher, journal, or instructor. So this is, AMA, APA, Vancouver, etc. You can create in-text citations as you write, and your bibliography will be built as you go. So for example, we can see where I wrote the sentence at the top left, the FDA first approved TMS devices in 2008. Now let's say that's a sentence that I need to provide a citation for. I will hit the button at the top left that says insert citation, that big mark with the quotes. And the screenshot on the right is what will pop up when I do that. So I'm going to see a window that says, hey, which reference did you want to insert here? I can put in the last name of the author that I know I want to cite. I can put in an easy keyword for me to pull up that reference, however I want to do it. But once I pick whichever one I want, I hit insert, and then at the bottom screenshot, that happened automatically. I didn't have to make the little superscript 1, and I didn't have to write that reference. As soon as I hit insert in the second screenshot, the third screenshot populated automatically. Saves you a ton of time as far as writing your references out by hand. And just gives you a lot less headache when it comes to citation styles. Now, I do say that with a caveat. Don't forget your citation style. I think it's really important to note that even though this is helpful to you, it's easy for there to be errors either from EndNote or from the database that you pulled that reference from. So for example, the Chen article that we just put in the screenshot at the top, it notes article and press. We typically don't need to put the type of article in an AMA citation. So you can see in the middle where I have that long skinny screenshot, I've gone back into EndNote to remove article and press from that reference and then update it in the screenshot on the bottom. So now it's not there anymore. Now the reason that is and why I can't just backspace it from the screenshot in the top is because Cite While You Write is a coding kind of process. There is a lot of code happening underneath. So you can't just backspace out from that reference or else it won't stay. The next time you save the paper or update the paper, whatever you backspace will be there again. So it's important to be sure that if you're going to use Cite While You Write, don't forget that what you're doing is importing things that aren't just plain text, and you have to go into your EndNote library to make any types of changes that are needed. Now, sharing your library with EndNote users is very simple. All you have to do is compress the library that you're working in. And what I mean by that is it's just creating a smaller, different file type with the same library in it, and that is emailable. A .enl is what your EndNote library is typically going to be. You can't share that, but you can share the compressed one that is .enlx, as you can see in the screenshot. So if you need to email the rest of your research team, hey, this is everything I found, this is the lit we're going to be working with, you can make a compressed library just by hitting that file button and going down to that option. You can send that file via email. Very simple. Whenever your team opens it on their end, if they have EndNote installed, it will open up and look identical on their end as to yours. Now, one thing to know, you are creating essentially a snapshot of a file. So if you add more references to that library later, they aren't going to automatically show up in the compressed library file that you have emailed out. Those are entirely different files now. That's one of the main cons of working within EndNote, is simply that the sharing across compressed libraries and things like that doesn't work. So you would have to send new copies if there's going to be this tremendous new difference in the literature that's in your library. Now, sharing with non-EndNote users. So this can be, it's just a little bit more getting creative with how you're going to share it. I personally recommend just sending a bibliography. Now, whether that is in AMA citation style, or if you want to send maybe an annotated library that includes the abstract so that they can see the most information within it. But either way, what you would do in this case is copy all of the ones or highlight all of the ones that you would like to send. And instead of right-clicking and hitting copy, like you would a normal copy-paste situation, you would hit copy formatted reference. And the format is going to be whichever one you have it in. So you can see I've got it in AMA citation style. And the screenshot on the right is a Word doc that I opened, and all I did was hit paste, and that automatically all dropped in. So if I had done annotated style, for example, it would look very different from this. It would have all of the abstracts included, all of that as well. So as far as installing goes, this is where you can go ahead and get started. Now, I thought I removed this QR code. I'm worried it doesn't work anymore. If you want to try it, you're welcome, but I think that the QR code has expired. So I recommend just going with the link for oyt.utk.edu, software hardware. You can also just go to the EndNote research guide and start there. Now, what I'm going to do is a demonstration of the EndNote desktop version. So I am going to back out of this screen. I'm going to come back here to make sure that you get my email here as well. But for now, I'm going to open the EndNote library that I've made for today. So you can see that I have a completely blank EndNote library. 0 references. This is what it will look like once you've gotten it installed for the first time. I'm going to open up the library's website. EndNote is the research guide right down here. That's where you're going to be able to find all kinds of information. If you see download install up here at the top, you're going to see UTK download site right here. That's where you can also go to that reference. So just in case that QR code I had in there didn't work, you can always go straight here. But I'm going to go back to the homepage of the library. I'm going to go to popular resources, and I'm just going to go to PubMed. So I'm going to do simulation and depression. And we get a few thousand results. I'm not going to go through the filtering down to the different evidence types because I mainly just want you to see how this process works. So I'm going to hit the send to button right here. And I'm going to hit citation manager. I'm just going to do all results on this page. So if I did all results, I would get the 3,657. If I did selection, I could get any that I had hit these checkboxes for. I'm just going to do all results on this page, and I believe that is 10. Yeah, so I'm going to get 10. Hit create file. You can see down here it's downloaded. I'm going to click it, and there it is. Automatically, they just all drop in. If you select one, you can see on the right where it opens up, and you can see the abstract. You can see the full JAMA reference. Now I can right-click on these and try to find the full text for them. You can see over here where it's saying searching. And we're just going to see how many it does find, just so I can show you an example. So again, remember, any that it doesn't find, you might still be able to go back out to PubMed and maybe it was just in error. You can also always do an interlibrary loan, and that would be through the library's website as well. So it found, for example, this one. So you can see which ones it found because it has a paperclip next to it. If I hit open over here, You can see I now have the full PDF. And that just really helps with keeping everything organized. So you don't have to have all of them in a separate folder on your computer. And then, you know, maybe an Excel spreadsheet where you're keeping these citations. It just keeps it all in one place. Now I'm going to open up a blank Word document as well. And I want a blank one. Let's open up a brand new one. Okay. Now, if I wanted to take all of these references and just share them with someone who didn't have EndNote. Like I mentioned, you can make an easy library. So I have it in JAMA format. I'm going to right click and hit copy formatted reference. I go over here, hit paste. Now they're all there, one click, very easy. If I undo this and say, actually, they probably need the abstracts as well, I'm going to change it from JAMA to annotated. I'm going to do the exact same thing again, copy formatted reference, paste. And now it has all of these abstracts as well, which is awesome. Now I'm going to show you, if you look up here where there's EndNote 20, this is where Cite While You Write lives. So what I just did with the copy paste of the bibliography, that didn't have all the Cite While You Write code underneath. That was just easy plain text that I copy pasted in. If this is a sentence that I need to add a citation to, I'm going to hit insert citation right here. I'm just going to do depression and say this is the one we want. I'm going to hit insert. And right now it's in Vancouver style. So you can see it's got the one in the parentheses and it made the full reference. If I want to change it to AMA, changes everything automatically. You don't have to fix anything. Say that you have finished your paper and you realize you want to add more sentences into the introduction. The numbers, since it's coded, will automatically change. So that went from 1 to 2, and this moved down and put this article on top. Now, if you look the way I click it, see how it's kind of highlighting strangely? That is because of all that coding underneath. So it's a good reminder that you can't just go in and backspace things. So let me show a quick example of why you might want to backspace something. If we look at this cache article, you can see where it says 2021, it also says March 1st. And typically in an AMA style article, we don't use month and day. So what we're going to do is go back into the EndNote library. Let's see, cache. This is, let's go back to AMA. See if this is the one. Yes, so it has March 1 in this reference. So what we're going to do is at the top of this pane, we're going to hit edit. We're going to delete that. We're going to hit save. And then we're going to go back over. And if you watch where it says March 1st, hit update, and it is gone. It is now just 2021. Ideally, you won't have to make these kinds of small changes very often, but every now and then things just export a little bit too detailed or not detailed enough, depending on the database, depending on the citation style. So it's important, like I said, to just still remember what your citation style should generally look like and make sure you know how to change things within the EndNote library. And with that, I believe that covers the main aspects of EndNote that we discussed. You can go through, use these references, get them organized. Here's where my groups lives. But that's really the main thing you're going to be using EndNote for, is getting references all organized into one place and then moving them into the paper that you're working on. So I'm just going to pull my slide up again. So if you have any questions at all, the main thing that I want you to get out of this workshop is if you can't figure it out through the research guide, you are more than welcome to email me. So that's hjasmine@uthsc.edu. My name is Hillary. You can always reach out with questions about EndNote. But that does conclude the workshop. So thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. And good luck with your use of EndNote.